The Democrats suck. The Republicans are evil. What do we do? Brace yourself.
That's the most succinct. That is the most succinct description of American political system I've ever heard. The Democrats suck and the Republicans are evil. What do we do?
Brace yourself, because we gotta dig in, right? So
we fight both of them. We fight both of them. The Democrats aren't an enemy; they're an obstacle. They need to be overcome. Republicans, the right is an enemy. The Democrats are an obstacle to defeating.
And it's like you hear people say not all Democrats. No, but what it is there's a system that's in place that keeps Democrats making these same stupid decisions. There are a lot of people that I still admire very much, despite the very dumb things that they've done over the past year. However, we have a system, we have a party system that allows them to do things the way they're doing them, that actually, rewards. Like we were talking about in one of our threads earlier, all of us from the team, we talk pretty regularly throughout the day to kind of like just, discuss things that are going on and work on strategy, things like that. Right. So and we just shoot the stuff and talk about random things, like the fact that we're missing New Edition to cover the show for Ben tonight. But no, seriously. One of the things we were talking about earlier, did I lose my point? I might have lost my point. But anyway, like Democrats, we have all these different opportunities and groups forming that want to, primary Democrats and run things and do stuff, which is great, do you. But at some point, we have to stop saying it's too hard to run an independent candidate or it's too hard to run a third party candidate and actually put our time and effort. And this is the argument that Nick makes a lot that I just roll my eyes at him about. But seriously, when we're talking about local level candidates, we're talking about, city council positions, things like that. What does it take for you to run as an independent or to help someone else run as an independent? How many thousands of signatures? What we've learned so much that we can do, because that's how we start building out, it's already there, right? Like, no, we're not going to suddenly have a successful independent, presidential candidate in 2020. Like, unless it's someone that already is able to ride the Bernie wave and has a lot of money, because let's be real, to be able to compete and on the ground and on TV, they're going to need money to be able to buy their own airtime. I know we don't like big money and a lot of money, but we got to really start thinking strategically and thinking smart about what it takes to operate outside this system that we say we don't like. We don't like it. We're against it. We want it gone. That's fine. What are we replacing with? It's the same thing we keep saying to the Republicans about the ACA, public finance elections. Okay, what does that look like and how do we get there now, considering the system we have in place and considering who's in charge? That's not going to suddenly happen. That's not going to suddenly happen just because we're saying it has to happen and this other stuff is bad. And no, I'm not saying that you should take the big money because it's hard otherwise. What I'm saying is we have to be active, willing, and ready to make sure that whatever we're saying is an alternative, we can fund it. Because if we're telling people they have to walk away from XYZ money, then we need to have another alternative source for them. We can't just be saying you need to stop taking this because blah, blah, blah. No one's ever going to be able to compete without another source. So we have to help people find another source. Either we have to be the source as we were for Bernie, or we have to help find other sources, other, verified, vetted sources for grants and donations and things like that. Like we have to have a really good, solid plan put forth for people instead of just throwing them out there saying, don't do this, but, we don't have any other options for you. Because that's the blueprint that the Democratic Party is going to give people. That's what they're going to tell people. That's how they discourage people from running. Like if they don't got enough money, it's like it's like getting a conventional home loan and putting down 20% on $300,000 house. You shit out of luck without an FHA loan. Like most people aren't going to be able to, most people can't put down 20% on any house unless it's some really cheap little shack that you're going to bulldoze anyway. Right. So it's the same type of thing in terms of when we look at running people for offices, we have to be really clear with what we're doing, how we're doing it, and where the money is going to come from. Because we can't just say no dark money. We can't just say, don't take this money. We got to help provide candidates with the options and the framework. And we can do that because many of you have been active and engaged and involved so much over the past 18 months to 2 years, making it happen in the most amazing way possible that you can leverage that work. Don't sit around waiting for some big name org or whomever to come to you with a plan, right? You know who's good on your local level. You know at the state level, at your city council level, you know better than everybody else. Let all these other people fight over who's going to win at these congressional districts and levels. Not that that's not important, but if everyone's focusing on the same exact thing in the same exact space, we're not going to really get that much done. And you're going to end up with a lot of people working against each other when they should be working together. Go ahead, Brendan.
The thing is, like, we have to work with the Democratic Party, not within it. And I think that's the key distinction that we have to make right now, is that the goal should be to work with them, not within them, because that's part of their game, right? They want to have a stranglehold on the government insofar as they create a series of criteria, money, experience, et cetera, that you need to be a viable candidate. And if you don't have those things, they want to paint you as not viable. You can't do it. You're not part of a party. How could you possibly vote? And it just so happens that the only way to get those experiments is to work within their system. But the price for working within their system is so high, and the compromises you have to make are so extensive that at the end you're unrecognizable from what you started out as. And that's the problem with wanting, people want that Democratic brand, and I don't know why. At this point, I really don't know why. They keep drinking that Kool-Aid. The Democratic Party is still super viable just because they have a lot of money, and it needs to be the first thing we get rid of. That money equals viability. That at every level, because God knows, like you said, it helps. You have to have money to compete. But as we've seen with Hillary Clinton, having the most money really doesn't always help you win. And the reason why is because at a certain point, Democratic brand at certain levels is tainted. Their base does not like them anymore, and they keep doubling down these same decisions because they feel as though the American is held hostage. They had Joyanne Reid host something the other day, right? The Democratic National Committee Forum.
Well, and they also we were talking about, like you were talking about, everybody's wrapped in their pink, and you got Cory Booker and everyone out there. Even DWS managed to find her crackhead self on the stage, but who was noticeably absent from the festivities and the powerful, stance this weekend? The people who claim to be our champions of progressivism, who want to run the party, because they were holed up in some little secluded retreat with David Brock and a bunch of the rich folk, pitching to not the people, pitching to the donors, because they're really the ones who are going to make these decisions.
Maybe you can help me with this, because that's something I've been thinking about for a while now. The Democratic establishment is so jealous of the Republican Party. For some reason, the Democratic establishment, your David Brocks, your Hillary Clinton, these people, they're so jealous of the Republican establishment. And so they do everything they can to avoid having to appeal to their base in any real way. The same with the third with Democrats being given $20 million to figure out, why did we lose? What's wrong? Because they're not really trying to figure out why did the Democrats lose, because that's a very easy question to answer. I could answer that for literally $20 in a lunch, But the real question you're asking is, how can we win without sacrificing our conservative neoliberal agenda? And I just feel as though the Democratic Party at its the highest level, the establishment level, they want what the Republicans have. They don't like the fact that their base wants them to do things that will not enrich them normally, and so they're trying to come up with all of these schemes. That's what these are, right? The Democratic Party is coming up with all these big schemes, these big events, these performative things. We're going to be hearing about the Women's March for the next 4 years, right? This Women's March is going to be exactly how Cory Booker defends himself as a viable candidate in 2020. We're going to see pictures of this for the next the next 24 years, because this is going to be the way the Democratic Party is going to establish themselves. We have energy behind us. We have energy behind us. See, we have energy behind us.
Yeah, it's go ahead, finish up so we can wrap up.
It's frustrating because they're not trying to figure out how they can win, because that's a very simple thing to answer, right? So I think that people who are out there saying, well, the Democratic Party is giving the third way, Think Progress, Third Way, all these other places lots of money to figure out how they can win is a lie. It's misunderstanding. They want to know how they can win but still be neoliberal.
I'm not even sure that they want to regain control. You're absolutely right, and still be neoliberal. They're not actually trying to really dig deep. They're not trying to really be the champion for the people and stuff that we need. I really don't know, and we're gonna probably have to put a pin in this like right around here and pick this up another conversation. I don't really know who that champion for the people is other than the people ourselves. And honestly, when I talk about the Democratic Party and them not being, I'm never going to tell you guys who to vote for. I didn't do it during the primary, didn't do it during the general. I'm never going to tell you who to vote for. I'm never going to tell you who to support. But what I will say is to make sure your eyes are wide open. If there is a viable, is there a good Democratic candidate and you choose to support them, go right on ahead. You don't lose any points with me for that one. But I do suggest that we don't like, because I'm seeing some folks are like, well, we need unity and we just got to all get along. If unity and all getting along means I got to put up with your drunken abusive behavior, to use a very loose analogy, then that's not worth unity to me. I'm going to call it out. I'm going to call you on the rug for being an abusive, drunken partner, instead of just standing here taking it to smile in front of our friends so that everyone knows we're okay. We got to stop telling people that we just need to be united and be all one. You know, we can't be fighting. Some things that we're fighting for. And quite honestly, right now, trying to figure out a path politically forward is absolutely worth fighting for. We can't just roll over into the Democratic machine once again because they haven't done anything to shake up, you know, the vestiges of power.
Absolutely. That's listen, right? The Democratic Party cannot be allowed with this Women's March to position themselves as the only legitimate way to resist Trump, the only way to engage in leftist politics. They can't be allowed to do it. And from my perspective, any organization or group or movement that is only concerned with the Democratic establishment, or rather change Democratic establishment, change Democratic Party, is a waste of a movement. The whole goal needs to be to destabilize the two-party system and move the Democrats to the left. Not like, if your organization is simply, well, how can we primary the right Democrats? Like, I think that you're making a mistake, because working within that system is going to demand a lot of things from you that you might are going to be antithetical to what you're actually working towards. Because the Democratic Party, they control those primaries. They do, and one way or another, they control those primaries. And that requires you to play by their rules. And so it's incumbent upon people on the left to like really understand what the cost for that is, and not simply just go, oh, well, they have this mechanism in place, they have this machine in place. Like, let me just try to steal it from them. Like, no, don't. Like, trust me. It is the height of hubris to believe that everyone who has tried before you, everyone loves it. Like, oh, everyone who has tried before me is simply corrupt or stupid, and I'm just so pure, and I'll be able to do it. And it's just like, no, you won't. And so maybe people have more faith in themselves than I do, but I'm like, nah, Democratic Party, it's like they'll change me.
Well, it's like when it's at the point where you are meeting with David Brock, when it's at the point when you're meeting, because like everyone's freaking out about Soros and this stuff, but like Soros gives money to a lot of, so basically everything pretty much on the left in one way or another. And that's not an excuse or justification, but it's real. Like, if you want to get rid of Soros money, that's a whole lot of supplemental cash you need to start finding to fund other stuff that people do. I'm just putting it out there. But y'all don't focus nearly enough on David Brock and the way he's weaseling his ass through everything that's going on right now. That's the real present and very, very pending enemy right there. From corruption. Yeah, go ahead.
But it's not David Brock, though. For some reason, Democrats are like, they are. This is why the reason why they lose, right? They are just so comfortable with getting in bed with people whose ideals and professed ideals, and whose past actions are antithetical to what they claim to believe in. And they just don't understand that is not a boon. And you said it earlier, like this idea, like it's not unity, it's reckless civility. Like the idea that
you're on a roll tonight. I like that one.
It's right. The Democratic Party is they don't demand unity. They demand that you be recklessly civil, not only with Republicans, but with them. And what they mean by that, when it comes to their bases, you have to meet us. We're not going to give you 50%. We're not going to give you 25%. You're going to come over here, or we're going to give you, or we're going to like let the wolves loose on you. And at the door, you have to come over to us. And like I said earlier, it's like this notion that compromise all circumstances is in and of itself virtuous is a problem in our political machine, because compromise it under all situations, civility is not always the best. It's not always a sign of maturity. And I've said this about Bernie Sanders. I was just like, when he decided to make a deal with a bunch of cheaters and scoundrels to not resist them and to campaign for them afterwards, he lost a bit of my respect, because that's not a mature thing to do. And a lot of people think it is, because on its surface it seems mature. Like, oh, he kept his word. You don't give your word to scoundrels. And, right. if it comes out that they're cheaters, or they even some way wronged you, you renege on your word, because they've already broke the agreement.